Well, it is Monday, ladies. Excuse me. And we're here. We have made it. We've made it. How are you ladies doing? I hope that you're doing fantastic. I know I feel great. I'm doing good. And today is a new week and new beginnings. You know, I look at Monday as always a new beginning. A fresh start, excuse me. And, you know, I hope that you look at it like that as well, because whatever you didn't do, you have another chance to do it this week. Well, you know, as I always tell you, you are absolutely beautiful. You're beautiful to me. I don't care what size you are. I don't care how many cellulite deposits you have on your legs. I know you're probably saying she's crazy. I like to have fun. That's what it is. I just find us as women that we're beautiful because we can accomplish so much. So much. And I just believe in us. And so I want you to believe in yourself. So no matter who didn't tell you this today, I let you know that you're beautiful. And I mean that from my heart. I really do. So feel good about yourself. You deserve it. And you are listening to the Estrogen Chronicles. Her plate, her power. And here is your host, functional nutritionist Gail Thorpe, at your service. So as always, I want you to grab your pen, your paper, your water, your smoothie, your juice, or a glass of wine if you like. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. So today our topic, ladies, is something that people don't talk about too much. It's one of those things that's often overlooked, but it has a lot to do with our health, believe it or not, okay? And that is body shape. Did you know that body shape actually can impact your health as a woman? It can. So it's not even just so much about the aesthetics of your body shape, so whether you're hourglass or apple, but what it does is actually give us clues of underlying hormonal patterns, metabolic health, and risk factors for certain conditions. Did you know that? So we're going to talk about that today. Like I said, I'm always here to talk about things that sometimes that, you don't get anywhere else. And I want to keep you always informed. So with that being said, so with us, so body shape, okay, often reflects where our fat is stored, which in turn is influenced by our hormones, it's influenced by our genetics and our lifestyle. So the distribution is often linked to different health risks. So we have the fat around our abdomen, which is our visceral fat. Now this is more metabolically active and can raise risk for heart disease, for diabetes, and inflammation. And then we have the fat around our hips and our thighs, and that's what we call our subcutaneous fat. Now this is less harmful metabolically, but it can still affect our mobility, our circulation, and our hormone balance. Okay? So how can you determine what type of body shape do you have? Now, generally, you want to measure your waist to hip ratio, which is our WHR, waist to hip ratio. And you do the measurement from your waist at the narrowest point above the belly button, okay? And then you measure your hips at the widest point around your buttocks. So what you do is you want to take those numbers and you divide your waist by your hip measurement. So if it's less than 0.80, it's you have a pear shape. If it's between 0.80 to 0.85, then you're probably more like a balanced rectangular shape. And if it's 0.85 or higher, you're more of an apple shape. Okay? So that's one of the ways that you can determine. But guess what? If you see the different pictures of what an apple shape looks like, what the hourglass shape looks like, you can pretty much determine who you are just looking at the different type of body shapes, what type of shape that you have. But if you were to do it as far as the actual, by doing what I just mentioned, then that's another way that you can determine. Now you can also look at the shoulder to hip ratio, and that's where we have an inverted triangle or an hourglass figure. Okay? Okay. Now, so what does this mean? So when you have let's say an apple, which is the waist and the hips and the upper body carries more weight. If you have an apple shape, ladies, some of the health links that's actually associated with the apple waist, you have a higher risk of insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, PCOS, and cardiovascular disease. That's if you have an apple shape. And like I said, if you don't want to take the measurements, you don't necessarily have to. You can just look and see. I mean, if you were to type it in Google, what does an apple shape look like, for instance, it will show you. And then you can look at yourself and say, I'm an apple shape. So those are your health risks. Now, nutritional-wise, you want to focus on a low glycemic, a fiber-rich carbs, healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, and lean proteins. And you want to limit your refined sugars to protect your insulin balance. Okay? Now, as far as exercise, for someone who has an apple shape, you want to prioritize cardio. So you want to do walking, you want to do cycling, swimming, to reduce the abdominal fat, plus strength training for overall metabolism. Okay. Now we're going to get into the pear shape, So your hips and your thighs are wider than your waist and your shoulders. Okay? And for pear shape, we have seen some of the health risks are estrogen dominance. Now, we've talked about this many times, how our estrogen can recirculate in the body because the liver is not detoxifying because it's impaired, and now it becomes dominant. So this particular shape can be linked to estrogen dominance. It has a higher risk of cellulite, varicose veins, and sometimes it's actually even linked to osteoporosis, especially after menopause. Okay? Now, the nutritional emphasis on someone who has a pear shape is definitely anti-inflammatory foods, so leafy greens and berries and omega-3s. We want to support the liver detoxification with cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, those type of things. We talked about that many times because that helps to detox the estrogen in our body, and it also helps to balance the estrogen. So we're taking back our plate for each body type, body shape. Now, as far as exercise, we want to focus on lower body strength, so like squats and lunges and Pilates. And we want to add upper body toning for balance. Plus, we want to also do some light cardio with this type of body shape. Now, if we happen to have the hourglass shape, which is really nice, that's where we have a balanced hips and shoulders and a defined waist. Okay? Now, usually, with this type of body type or body shape, is usually hormonally balanced, but it is prone to weight gain if diet and exercise is neglected. And there is a risk of PMS or hormonal fluctuations, okay, with an hourglass shape. So we're taking back our plate with this body shape by balancing out our micronutrients. We want to have a moderate carbs, good proteins, healthy fats, and we want to definitely avoid extreme or too low carbs or high sugar. Now, we always talk about that, so I know you guys know. So with this particular body shape, when it comes down to exercise, we want to definitely do a mix of strength plus cardio to maintain the balance. And then we want to do core exercises to help protect the spine and to prevent back issues. Okay? Now, did you ladies have an idea how much our body shapes literally can determine or give us health clues onto some of the things or conditions that we can actually experience? Okay? Now, you might have heard about some of this sometimes, but did you know it was this intense? See, I always try to give you good stuff here. So now the rectangular shape, which is the waist, hips, and shoulders, are similar in width. Okay? Now for this particular body shape, some of the health risks are lower estrogen stores. Sometimes it's linked to adrenal stress or thyroid imbalances. And it's less natural fat storage, which equals a risk for osteoporosis for this particular body shape. Okay? Now, taking back our plate for this one, we want to support hormones with healthy fats. So, like nuts and seeds and salmon. We want to have enough adequate protein. And we want to do mineral-rich foods like leafy greens and sesame and legumes. Okay. Now, for us on this particular body type, our exercising, what do? We want to do resistance training. So we want to build muscle definition plus weight-bearing workouts for both health. So yoga and strength circuits is what we want to do for a rectangular shape. And then we have our inverted triangle, which is broad shoulders and narrow hips. The health risk that's associated with this particular shape is higher cortisol tendencies. Sometimes it's linked to adrenal fatigue or overtraining. And it can have a higher residual fat risk despite slim hips. And to help us to take back this particular body shape, body type, we want to do an anti-stress nutrition. So we want to focus in on magnesium-rich foods like pumpkin seeds and spinach. We want to work with adaptogens. Okay? We want to do a steady protein intake to balance our cortisol. So for you ladies that may have those, actually have broader hips and a narrow waist, okay, this is what you want to take a look at. Anti-stress nutrition. Now, we want to focus in on exercise, lower body training. So we want to do lunges and glute bridges. We want to balance our proportions. We want to avoid excess upper body bulk. We want to add yoga or Pilates for stress management. I think that's amazing to even, understand this, how it actually plays a role. I know me as a functional nutritionist is for me to get to the bottom line of what's happening with you. So whether I have to look at genetics, regular type of testings or specialized testings, the other thing that I actually look at to give me a clue based on what you're telling me is your body shape. That's why I like functional nutrition so much, because it really gets to the root cause of what's happening. So we look at a lot of stuff. We look at stress management. We look at body shapes. We look at a whole host of things. We look at, of course, what you say to us, right? That helps us to determine what's going on. And of course, testing. We don't guess, we test. Okay? So just once again, to reiterate what we just said, if you have an apple shape, we're going to watch out for blood sugar and heart health. Pear shapes, we want to support estrogen metabolism and circulation. If you have an hourglass, we want to keep it balanced with lifestyle consistency. If you have rectangular, we want to focus on bone health and hormone support. And if we have an inverted triangle shape, we want to care for stress levels and balance lower body. Now, I know you ladies are like, wow, you had no clue. You had no clue that body shape can actually really determine your hormones, how your metabolism is metabolizing. It determines stress. It determines your aging. And it can even determine fertility patterns. Okay? So we're going to dig a little deeper. So again, body shape is influenced by hormones, genetics, gut health, and lifestyle. So over time, your shape can change. It can change due to hormonal shifts like puberty, pregnancy, perimenopause, or menopause. It can also change due to stress and cortisol. A lot of belly fat storage, right? So maybe when you were a child or a teenager or in your early 20s, maybe you didn't have much of stress. You had too much stress and you didn't have belly fat, right? So over time, now your body is changing. You're getting older and you start to develop more residual fat. Right? So now that changed your body shape, your body dynamic, which is now could be leading to other things that we're talking about. Insulin resistance. Apple shapes have more in common with insulin resistance. We have estrogen dominance is definitely with pear shapes is more common. Okay, these are some things that can be influenced by your body shape. Muscle versus fat ratios, or when it comes down to rectangulars or inverted triangles, often reflect higher muscle mass. So basically, your shape is not fixed, it evolves as your health evolves. Okay? So it can change. It can change if you lose weight. Sometimes if you tend to be, higher in your body mass index, your BMI, you are not sure what type of shape you have until you actually start to lose weight. And then when you actually start to exercise to tone up your body, then you can determine actually what type of shape that you actually have, right? So a lot of different factors can determine our shape, our body shape, and it can change our body shape. Okay? So with apple being associated also with the higher cortisol and insulin resistance, now we're talking about a surefire way or a link to metabolic syndrome. And with pear shape, we have a higher estrogen storage. It's protective for the heart, but may worsen PMS, endometriosis, or even fibroids for pear shape. And then the hourglass, like we talked about, it balances the estrogen and progesterone, but it shifts in menopause, often turns hourglass into an apple. Okay? Like I said, it can change. Doesn't stay the same way. We would love for our body shapes to stay perfect, from the time that we're younger, where we don't have much of a stomach, our hips and thighs are not out to here, it would be nice, but it's going to change. So rectangular is lower estrogen. Sometimes it's linked to thyroid sluggishness or low progesterone. And then our inverted triangle, we definitely have the cortisol, adrenal driven, sometimes connected to higher testosterone or DHEA levels. Now, I'm sorry, guys. This is some really good information right here. And I laugh because, I just enjoy talking to you ladies. But the thing is, why this is good information, because this is something that really no one digs into or no one talks about that much. Okay? And if they do, it's very lightly that they may talk about it. But these, believe it or not, having your body shape actually gives clues to the type of conditions that you may have. And also how you need to exercise based on the type of body shape that you have. What do you need to concentrate on more or not concentrate on as much, right? So some of the conditions that we're going to see a little bit more higher when we have different type of body types is, for instance, Apple, we tend to have PCOS, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, fatty liver, and we have anxiety and depression. And then with our pear shape, we have varicose veins more. We have more cellulite or lymphedema, fibroids, and we may be more estrogen dominant with PMS. And then for our hourglass, we're going to see more PMS situations. We're going to have more cyclic migraines. So we definitely will deal with more migraines. We'll have breast tenderness, back pain from our curves that we have. Because remember, we're hourglass, so we're going to have more curves. And then rectangular, we're going to be dealing with more osteoporosis risk, adrenal fatigue, fertility challenges. And we may sometimes be low in progesterone. And then when it comes down to our inverted triangle, shoulder neck tension we'll have burnout a lot of times, and irregular cycles from stress. That's amazing. That is amazing. So when we're going through perimenopause, the pear, hourglass, is more common for estrogen protection, or more protective rather. And then when we're going through menopause, many women shift between apple due to falling estrogen and relative cortisol dominance. And for postmenopause, apple shape strongly is linked to metabolic health risk. So basically, this shift explains why women who were healthy pears or hourglasses in their 20s and 30s may find themselves apple-shaped at 50 and over, and why prevention and lifestyle is what? It is key. Okay? And just to reiterate again, as far as eating, apple, we want to definitely focus on anti-inflammatory, which helps to stabilize blood sugar, and have magnesium-rich food. And then pears, We want to definitely do the liver detox foods. So broccoli, kale, flaxseed, which also helps support our circulation. And then rectangulars. We want to definitely do more support around our bone. Okay? So we're going to do bone supportive nutrition, which is calcium, vitamin D, and omega-3s. And then hourglass. We want to have a more of a balanced micronutrients, avoid crash diets that can disrupt our hormones. And then the inverted triangles. We want to definitely do anti-stress foods. We want to have teas like chamomile tea, leafy greens, nuts, and seeds. This is how, ladies, you take back your plate. Even with our body shapes. Do you see that? Do you see that? Even with our body shapes. So, in other words, it is so important, so very important, what we put on our plate. Okay? Which ultimately goes into our mouth. Right? Food is the key, ladies, even to our body shapes. Because like I said, you can start out with one body type, one body shape, but it can change over time as you get older, right? Or different conditions. So you can start out an hourglass and may end up a pear, or vice versa sometimes. So it just all depends. But even with that, we now know that our body shape is linked to certain conditions. So certain hormonal imbalances that we can come up with as women. Osteoporosis, fibroids, it all depends. Just on our body type. And like with anything else, if we take back our plate, we take back our health. So that's why I felt that this subject is extremely important. And I want to reiterate again about the exercising part. So with apples, we want to do steady cardio and full body strength to lower residual fat. With our pears, we want to do resistance training for lower body and also to keep the lymph moving activity. So walking and yoga. And then for hourglass, we want to do a combo workout of strength. We want to do also yoga to help to maintain balance. And then rectangular shapes, we want to do the weight training for muscle tone plus Pilates for posture. And then for our inverted triangles, we want to work on lower body toning plus calming workouts like yoga. We could do the barriere and stretching because this is what's going to play a role. So I want to say to you, instead of seeing shape as a flaw, try reframing it as your body is giving you clues about your inner story, your inner health story. By listening to your shape, you can spot early signs of imbalance. You can adjust your diet and exercise to prevent chronic disease. And you can work with your hormones instead of fighting them. Okay? Now this is just perspective I want you to think about. So once again, instead of seeing your shape as a flaw, reframe it. That your body is giving you clues about your inner health story. So don't look at it that, okay, I may not be an hourglass. I may be more of a pear. I'm just using an example. And maybe you don't like that particular shape, but you can change it, and it can change also on its own over time. But look at that as a clue to what is going on. And again, by listening to your shape, you can spot early signs of imbalance, which you can later, hopefully not too later, but immediately adjust your diet and exercise to prevent chronic disease. And work with your hormones instead of fighting them, because we tend to fight. We fight them. That's because we don't know what to do. So basically, shape equals hormones equals conditions equals food equals exercise. Okay? Remember that, ladies. Remember that. So, as you know, we get to that moment where I have a gift for you. But this time I have a dinner bowl for all the shapes that we just talked about. Right? So no matter if you're pear, you're rectangular, inverted, it doesn't matter. This dinner bowl recipe is going to help on several different levels, and I'll tell you in a moment how. So this is going to serve two. Okay. The base of this dinner bowl is going to be with fiber plus minerals. So we're going to do 2 cups of lightly steamed broccoli and kale. This helps to support our estrogen detox and our bones. Okay. We're going to do a half cup of quinoa, which helps with magnesium, protein for stress and blood sugar balance. And then we're going to do protein, which is going to help our hormone support. We're going to do 1 cup of chickpeas, which is going to give us the fiber, the phytoestrogens for hormone balance. Or we can do actually a 6-ounce grilled wild salmon, which will give us the omega-3s for inflammation and hormone. We'll have our healthy fats to help with stress and hormone health. So a half avocado, which will help us with potassium and healthy fats. And then 2 tablespoons of toasted pumpkin seeds, which give us the zinc and the magnesium. And this will help to support PMS and stress. Okay? And then we're going to do colorful additions, which is going to be with our antioxidants. So we're going to do a half cup of roasted beets. This will help with our circulation and our liver support. We'll do a half cup of shredded carrots, which is going to be for our beta carotene, for progesterone and support. And then we'll do 1/4 cup of blueberries or even pomegranate seeds for oxidants for all of the shapes. Like I told you, this is a recipe for all of them. So our dressing, which will help with the blood sugar and the hormone balance. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of tahini, juice of a half lemon, 1 teaspoon of miso paste. This will help with gut support. And 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. And then warm water to thin it. So here's what we're going to do as far as the directions. We're going to cook the quinoa and set aside. We want to go ahead and steam or roast our broccoli, our kale, and our beets until it's tender. And then we're going to go ahead and grill our salmon, or we're going to warm our chickpeas. We're going to go ahead and arrange the quinoa, the veggies, the protein, the avocado, the seeds, and basically for colorful add-ins in a bowl. This is going to help to, the seeds are going to add that colorful add-in to the bowl, which we also need. And then we're going to whisk our dressing until it's smooth, and we're going to go ahead and drizzle on top. Now, why does this particular recipe, this dinner bowl recipe, work for all of the shapes? Well, for apple, which is waist heavy, the low glycemic, the fiber rich supports insulin balance. And then for pears, which is hips and thighs. Okay, so the cruciferous veggies plus the flax seeds and the avocado help clear excess estrogen. The hourglass for this menu will help to balance the micros to prevent hormone swings. And then for rectangular, we have the seeds and the greens that provide the bone protecting minerals. And then for the inverted triangle, we have the quinoa, we have the salmon, we have the tahini, which offer a calming of the nutrients for cortisol in adrenals. Okay? You can always sprinkle, if you like, a little flaxseed for extra estrogen metabolism. And if you like, you can also add fermented veggies like sauerkraut for gut health. Okay? That sounds yummy. I would like that now, actually. I've made something similar to that not too long ago, and it was pretty doggone good. But that sounds really good, and that actually helps to support all of the different body shapes that we talked about today and the different problems that they may have. Okay, ladies, we talked about a lot today, something a little bit different on a topic of our health, because remember, my goal here at Estrogen Chronicles is to cover as many different things about our health as women and how we can do certain things to take back our health by taking back our plate. We talked about the different bodies, the body shapes, and what does it mean to have them? What type of conditions you can have, and what type of direct foods will help to take back that particular shape's condition. We talked about the exercising that's specific to the different type of body types. And we talked about how the body types can change over time and some of the more pressing conditions that can come from having different body types. We also talked about, as far as the foods that really, as I mentioned, we talked about it, but we got more deeper into that as well. And most importantly, we talked about how we can take back our plate by the recipe that I just gave you, which is a dinner bowl recipe that anyone can do at any time, making it very simple and easy. And it's for all of the different body shapes. And I basically went over how come it can help with all of the different body shapes and its different conditions that it may have. So there's, like I said, there's really nothing that, no matter what you're dealing with, there's nothing that you're dealing with that cannot be supported with proper nutrition. Okay? That's important. Okay, so as normally we covered everything, I think. So, as you know, I always end this with a few things. One is I need you to share this podcast. It's important because the information that I give you, I hope that you are enjoying it. It looks like you guys are. But in order for me to stay here, in order for me to keep growing and to be here, I need you to share. Share with your friends and your family. There's ladies out there who would love to hear this information. Like, who would have thought that some of your body type can be a clue to your health, right? So, not many people are talking about it. I like to be the one to do it and help you to keep being informed, okay? And if you are looking for a special customized program based upon your body shape, like I said, that is something that I also look at when you come to me, okay? So, whether it be me as a functional nutritionist, I would love to have you, but if maybe someone else that deals in functional nutrition, okay? But if it is me, I would love for you to come. You know, go online, go to www.nutritionudesign.com. And there is actually a session there for consultations. You can book a free 30-minute consultation with me, and we can take it from there. And I can help to build you a customized program based upon your body type, based upon your health, based upon your stress levels, and give you quality pharmaceutical grade supplements on top of it. So when I say I'm going to get to the bottom line of your health, I'm not playing. I support over 200 panels, lab panels for you, whether it be the genetics or other things that I can look at to really see what's going on. Okay? So definitely take a look at that as well. And as you also know that I always say, wellness is not just a focus, it is a lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle because, as you can see, just our body shape can determine our health and determine different conditions that we may have, right? So our body shape will always have some type of body shape. As long as we live, it may go up and down and change into different forms, but guess what? We'll always have a body shape. So how can we take care of that body shape so we can ward off a lot of the conditions that I just talked about? And we can do that through taking back our plate and lifestyle nutrition, because we don't talk about diets here. It's not about that. Okay? All right, ladies. So I hope that you are going to enjoy this. Be sure to listen to it again so that you can really understand the different type of body types and look at yourself and see which one you have. You can always Google body shapes if you're not sure, and you'll know underneath your clothes what type of body shape that you have, right? And then you can go from there and you start doing the things based on your body shape to make you healthy. So I want you to have a great rest of the day, and most importantly, enjoy the rest of the week. Until next time, ladies, have a good rest of the time, and remember, your health is your wealth. See you soon.